Hi guys, Abby here. This has been asked for a couple of times, so I've finally got around to doing it. This is a brief introduction to capital ships in general, and specifically more in depth into Dreadnoughts. Carriers, super carriers, and Titans I'm probably going to do in a separate video. But this is just kind of like the basics of what a capital ship is, what it can do, and what Dreadnoughts in specifically and how they work, because they're probably the easiest of the ones to understand and to get into. But a lot of the mechanics are transferable throughout all of them. So what is a capital ship? So a capital ship is one of the largest ships, some of the largest ships in EVE. They can take gates and stuff like a normal ship, but they can also jump to Sino beacons and fields, carrying other ships in their cargo holds. So they're great for deployments and things like that. It means that you don't have to take gates. And generally in it, we look to anyone over about 30 million SP to be moving towards a capital ship, usually a Dreadnought first or a carrier. So you can see I'm sat in a Mimitar Dreadnought. This is a Naglfar. Very pretty with the vertical supremacy that she is. Now, first things first, we should have a look and check the fit. So fits are usually shown in Alliance. Now there isn't really Alliance fit for the Nag. This is a fit up to shoot subcaps, but generally you'll be able to find the Alliance fits with all the other Dreadnoughts in the fitting window. There's the Redemption fits, for instance. And the main thing about a Dreadnought specifically is this module here, which is a siege module, which basically allows us to stop our ship and then increases the DPS of our overall ship to deal with it, either killing other ships or killing or sieging structures, basically. So other than that, if we go through our inventory, we can see I've got all my cap boosters, which are very important. Cap is life, especially in a Dread. Ammunition, some refit modules, and then I've got some other bays. So we also have a ship maintenance bay. This allows us to carry other ships inside us. So for instance, if I go here, I get this Bifrost, I can drag and put it into the ship maintenance bay. And this allows us to carry up to 1 million M3 of ships, which is about the equivalent of sort of 2 battleships and a frigate, there or thereabouts. Now, it should be noted that next to the ship maintenance bay, there's 2 little buttons here. Let's make sure these are ticked off all times. This allows access to these bays from either fleet members, if you see this one, or court members, if you tick this one. It's very important that you make sure they're off at all times, so you don't end up losing anything expensive out of your ship maintenance bay, unless obviously you really need to. Next, we have a fleet hangar. You see this is full of cap boosters, and it generally will be full of cap boosters or fuel, maybe some refit. This is in excess to our normal inventory, and it's usually around the 10k M3, and we've got cap boosters in here currently. And then last but not least, we have a fuel bay. Now, fuel bay is quite large on a Dreadnought for one particular reason, and that's because we require this. This is Strunt, which any of you ice miners have probably seen quite a lot of, and we use this to fuel this particular module, which is our siege module. And generally we'll carry sort of like between sort of 10 to 15 cycles depending on what we're doing. And as you can see, if I go onto this show and view, the siege module 2 at max skills requires 125 units there or thereabout to cycle, basically. So it's very important that we've got Strunt. The rest is all made up with hydrogen. For us, this is the Mimitar fuel, and we require this to use the jump drive. basically, so we can jump to signer fields and beacons. There are other types of fuel as well. So helium, we use this for Mars ships and Blood Raider ships. Nitrogen, which is for Caldari ships and Garistas. And oxygen, which we use for Galanti ships and ore ships, I think, as well. Oh, and Serpentis, sorry. And then we've got some strong there as well. Yeah, so jump into beacons. So there's different types of Sino field in the game. There's these 4 different types of things that we can jump to. Now, as a capital ship, we can only jump to these 2 at the end: the Sino field generator or the Sino field beacon. We cannot jump to either of these 2. Industrial Sinos are for freighters and rorquals only, and covert Sinos are only for anything with a covert field. Basically, we get bridge to and Black Ops. So this one is fitted to a Force Recon ship, so Rapier, Arazu specifically, those sort of things. This is a deployable structure, much like a mobile tractor unit or a that sort of nature. And then we can jump to that, and anybody in the local area can jump to that. Okay. So, what do we need to do to jump? So first things first, we need to make sure we're in a fleet. So you can see here I'm in fleet with Lisa. She's in a different system, in a Rapier, and she has a Sino fitted. So we're in a fleet, ready to go, and we're going to make sure, and then we're going to dock. Right, so Lisa's Sino's already up. There's a couple of places where we can click to jump to this. So the first way is we can go to the fleet window itself. We can right click on her name, and then we can go jump to member. What I must suggest you do is you drag and put whoever the Sino is into your watch list, and then all we need to do is right click rather than finding them and right clicking, and then we can also jump to member. We can also right click on a capacitor and then go and jump to. This is also where you will find any beacons here as well. There is also an open jump navigation. This will show any beacons that are within our range that we can also jump to, and tell us the amount of fuel that we'd need to. See how these are not in range? So right now I'm going to right click on Lisa, and I'm going to jump to her. Now you'll see when I jumped then that took 70% of my capacitor. I went down to minus 30%, and that is always the case. You cannot jump unless you're above 75% capacitor. So it's very important when you're on field to make sure that your cap is as high as possible. Also notice that when I've loaded grid, I'm not immediately tethered, and I cannot tether for the first 60 seconds. Okay, I can, however, just dock.
Request accepted.
Obviously, capital structures, capitals can only dock into capital structures. So that is basically Fortizars and above. Any of the medium structures you cannot dock a capital ship in, apart from a jump freighter or apart from a jump freighter. Okay, so we're just going to undock again now. Wait for Lisa's Sino to burn down. You'll also notice in the top right corner here I have some timers. So the red one that's slowly disappearing now, that's a jump reactivation timer. While this is red, I cannot jump again. You see it says there. So I've got 10 seconds left before I can jump again. To the left of it, I also have a jump fatigue timer. This will accumulate as you get higher. So if you can see now, if I jumped now, then my next reactivation, which is the red timer, will be between 1 minute 30 and 8 minutes. Generally, it's best to make sure this is less than 10 minutes and it will not continue to accumulate, and it will max out at a 4.5 hours, whatever it is. Okay. So, sieging. So, first things first, very important when you're about to siege, is to stop your dreadnought. So, say I've just jumped into this system. The first thing I would generally do is start burning cap boosters, because you want to get that cap level back up. Next, we're going to make sure that our ship is stopped or aligned to something, if that's what the FC says. That would usually be in the broadcast window. Then there's two ways if you didn't know how to stop your ship. Obviously, there's the old control space, or the other way to do it, if you're at speed, if you double click behind the direction that you're moving, you will slow down faster than if you control space. So see how I'm slowing down quite fast when I'm stopped there. This is especially useful when you're in a larger ship like this with low inertia. Okay, so siege module. So when I click this, I will activate the siege cycle for this dreadnought, and it's going to take a specific amount of time to cycle through. So you see there it says 5 minutes. Yeah. So when that happens, I'm going to be stuck here for 5 minutes. It's going to disallow the ability to tether, and I will be aggressed, basically, unable to tether. But however, it will put up my damage by a considerable amount. So I'm going to do that now. Right, you see. So now we've gone green. So when people say siege green, this is what they mean. And at siege green, and you can see that we've got a timer ticking down, and that's saying, 4 minutes, whatever now, left of our siege cycle. When the FC calls to siege red, we click it and it ceases to go red, and we are still stuck in this state until this cycle has ended. Okay, so what does this module do? So it increases the amount of damage that we do, and it also increases the rep power. So you can see now we are repping a lot more, and we're also doing a lot more damage. So we're now up to, over 3,000 DPS with our anti-subcap guns. Okay, so other little tricks and tips. It can be useful to stack your fuel into stacks of 125, like this. I'm not going to do the whole lot. This will show you exactly how many siege cycles you have left. And also, sometimes in big fleet fights, you might want to keep your Stront in your fleet hangar just because of tie-dye, so you don't accidentally go into another cycle of siege. That can be helpful, and drag 125 one at a time into your fuel bay to actually burn it. I think that's probably about it. Yeah, so I hope you guys learned something from that. If there's anything else you think I should add, please feel free to comment and all that sort of such. And I'll do carriers and carrier mechanics in a separate video. And take it easy and fly dangerous. Peace.